Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Barmore, and I am the Media Relations Director for the Detroit Police Department. We are here today to discuss the recent violence involving juveniles in our city and our plan moving forward to keep our young people in our city safe. Here today is Mayor Mike Duggan and our Chief of Police, Todd Bettison. Following their remarks, we will have a question and answer period. To ask a question, we ask that our media partners please come to the podium, state your name and media outlet, and limit yourself to 2 questions so there is time for everyone. Now I will turn it over to Mayor Duggan for his remarks and then Chief Bettison.
1 year ago today, we had the shooting of 21 of our residents on Rossini. And people said it was going to be a long, difficult summer in the city of Detroit. I stood here the next day with Chief White, and the Detroit Police Department made it clear that we were going to act decisively to protect our residents. And the violence prevention program in the summer of 2024 was highly effective. We put into effect for the first time a mobile field force. I immediately authorized DPD to use overtime to have a mobile field force on both the east and the west side to disrupt illegal block parties as well as drifting and racing till 3 a.m. for the rest of the summer. The chief at the time elevated illegal street parties to priority 1 911 calls. We urged citizens to call in. And for 2 or 3 weeks, there were people who tested DPD, and after they saw the effectiveness, the street parties largely came to a halt, as did the shootings. It was a remarkably quiet August, and in fact, the last year saw the single biggest percentage reduction in the city's history. We've gone from 250 homicides in 2023 to 200 last year, and through June 30th, halfway through this year, we're at 81. We've seen 20–30% decreases in shootings. This 2024 plan was effective. But what we've seen in the last 30 days is that our problems have changed and our strategies have to change. And so Chief Bettison and I are here to let the public know what you can expect to see in the next few days. So if you look at what's happened, there are two problems we're seeing this year that we did not see as much last year. Number one, the problems are running later in the evenings. Now we're seeing them at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And second, it is far more young people. We've had a dramatic drop-off in shootings of people 25 and up. But what we have seen, unfortunately, are way too many young people. I'm starting with the first action to deal with the problems of the late occurrences. The mobile field force has been deployed till 3 a.m. for the last year. I've authorized Chief Bettison to keep the force on till 5 a.m. for the rest of the summer. And here's what we have seen. We had a quadruple shooting at 3 in the morning on July 5th on Acacia. With a 17-year-old as one of the victims. This was an illegal street party that had been broken up earlier in the day, moved to a new location, and was still going as the mobile field force was supposed to be off duty. At 4:30 in the morning, some of you have seen the social media postings, but we have something we haven't seen in a long time. The drag racing and drifting crews took over the street at 7 Mile and Myers for nearly an hour and a half. They started up at 3:15 a.m., and because we did not have the large mobile field force on site anymore, we had to pull police cars from multiple precincts. You can't send one scout car into a crowd of 200 people and not put the officers at risk. And we ended up with 3 arrests, but we had a street shut down for an hour and a half. It's becoming clear to the chief and me that these folks have figured out the mobile field force is going home at 3 o'clock and have adjusted their strategies. From now on, we will be there until 5 a.m., and if we have intelligence, we will stay beyond 5 a.m. And so the chief has now the resources to address that. The next thing we're going to do is that we are going to do a level of curfew enforcement this city has not seen before. and we are going to enforce the curfew on groups of juveniles who are out after hours. We have had 20 shootings of juveniles, involving juveniles, either victims or shooters, in the last month. 12 of those shootings, 12 out of 20, have occurred in the 6-hour slot between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. These are times they shouldn't have been on the street under the curfew laws. I'm not asking City Council to pass a no curfew. We have curfews in place at the appropriate time. If you're 15 or under, you cannot be out without a parent or a responsible adult after 10 p.m. If you're 16 or 17, you can't be out after 11 p.m. These ordinances have been on the books forever. What we have not done is focus on the groups. We're not looking for an individual who might be on their own street. But what we are seeing over and over on these groups is whatever trouble teenagers may get into in the afternoon and the evening, as you start to get to 11, 12, 1 in the morning, whether they're drinking, whether they're using substances, or whether they're just beefing, the behavior gets worse and worse. We narrowly avoided an even greater tragedy around midnight, July 5th, when a mom holding her 2-year-old son watching fireworks has her son shot. We were very fortunate it wasn't a life-threatening injury, but she wasn't anywhere near any party. It turned out nearly a block away, there was a large street party going on. By the time the police got there and started making arrests, they made 10 arrests out of that street party. 22 shell casings were in the park where they were, from multiple guns. They arrested people for curfew violations as young as 14 years old. They arrested 10, but there were surely a lot more there that got away before the police arrived. What are 14-year-olds doing out at midnight in a group of people randomly firing off shots? And when this is allowed to occur, you have innocent 2-year-olds a block away whose lives are at risk. And so what Chief Bettison is going to describe to you today is the way that we are going to go at this. And I'm really pleased that he has elevated groups of juveniles to a priority 1 911 response, which means this is the time the public can help. I know you're seeing these group of teens and you think they've always been out there. We are saying now DPD is 99% staffed. We've got more officers than we've had in many, many years. They have the ability to deal with this issue. 1 year ago, we promised you that we were elevating the illegal street parties to level 1 response, and we did it quickly. Now, the department is going to make groups of juveniles out after curfew priority 1, and they will respond to that as well. We need you to be our eyes and ears. It is so much easier to catch the group when they're just starting out at 10, 10:30, 11, than to deal with them in a large group that's shooting at 1 in the morning. The other thing that I will be asking City Council to do is to amend the city's parental responsibility ordinance. We have got to get more help from parents. Generations of Detroiters were raised in this town to be told when the street lights come on, you come home. Somehow we have lost that. And part of this, I think, is that if you allow your children to be out in violation of the curfew, the first fine is $75 and the second fine is $100. There are no teeth in the city's parental responsibility ordinance. And so I will be asking City Council to raise the fine from $75 to $250 on the first offense and from $100 to $500 on the second offense. I would ask them to raise it higher, but $500 is the maximum allowed under state law. We don't want to fine anybody, but we have to get parents to take this very seriously. We're going to talk a lot today about prevention because it's not enough to solve the case after we've got our victims. One of the most heartbreaking cases I've had in the whole time I've been mayor was a 4-year-old boy climbing up a slide in the restored Skinner Park and being killed along with a 17-year-old in the park. The Detroit Police Department does an amazing job of arresting people after the fact. You saw what they did on that case. You can see the difficulties that we are having. It was a beef that arose on a DDOT bus over somebody grabbing somebody's ski mask. We have the video of the beef on the DDOT camera. The perpetrator goes down the street to get people to retaliate. We've got his actions getting his fellow shooter on all of the Ring doorbells down the street. They text out to their friends what they're doing. We've got the basic confessions off of their cell phone texts, and of course the truck is tracked by cameras. It did not take DPD very long, as it rarely does. We have an extremely high clearance rate on shootings in the city because of the resources that we have. This city lost a 4-year-old and a 17-year-old. But the 18 and 19-year-old shooters are very likely not going to see freedom again until they're very old men, if at all. They threw their lives away in that same moment. As proud as I am of the Detroit Police Department in their effectiveness at solving these cases, it does not bring a 4-year-old or a 17-year-old back to their parents. And so this may sound strong, but we are going to emphasize the enforcement of curfew because we don't want to have the kinds of shootings going on, the kinds of loss of life that we've had, the pain in this community. And so our Chief Bettison and DPD are going to have the opportunity to demonstrate that this is not the beginning of a violent summer, but instead is the beginning of the community rallying together to say we're not putting up with this anymore. The chief has done an outstanding job. It has been very difficult for him. Night after night, case after case, he stands out there, he takes your questions. We are on the phone till late in the evenings as we go through what's happening differently and what can our strategies be. And to the entire DPD team have worked over the entire 4th of July weekend to develop the plan today, and it's ready to go. And with that, I'll turn it over to our leader, Chief Todd Bettison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council President Mary Sheffield, to the Board of Police Commissioners as well, the new chair, Eva DeWalsh. Thank you. I have the support that I need. I'm coming down with a little cold or something, but when it comes to the resources, the mayor spoke to that, and we've already had our internal staff meetings, and so we're moving with a sense of urgency to ensure that we protect our most vulnerable members of this community, which are our young people. And so you've heard me speak at the various briefings at the shooting scenes over the past weekend. For example, this weekend alone, we had 6 juveniles that were shot, but 4 of them were after the curfew. So that becomes very evident and very clear to me that the enforcement of curfew citywide and stepping that up can definitely save lives. It should have been a celebratory weekend, of course. The mayor spoke when it came to the 2-year-old child that was hit by a stray bullet as he watched fireworks. Was outside with the family. I actually made the hospital, talked to the mother, know exactly what occurred. And what she told me was that the Detroit police had been there earlier and that they had moved juveniles along and pushed them along. But this is where we need the community and the public's help as well. As we know with text messages, as we know with their communication skills, they're able to regroup very, very quickly. And so, of course, we leave, they will regroup, and it was over 100 juveniles from what I'm being told that was at the Village Park, and it built, and ultimately shots were fired. And, of course, we had a 2-year-old hit. Thank God he's going to be okay. But, as the mayor has already stated, I have the best police officers and the best detectives in the country. They do amazing work. We have a high clearance rate. We're solving these crimes, but that's after the fact. I'm going to jump into the slide presentation really quickly because we prepared a PowerPoint so that you all can see exactly what we're going to be doing as well with our steps when it comes to prevention to stop these type of things from happening in the first place. Curfew enforcement. You're very familiar when it comes to fireworks or when it comes to the tree lighting event where I or my executive team will go before City Council and will ask for a special curfew, because we realize that young people unsupervised, and the key is they need to be supervised by a responsible guardian or parent. But that applies to the whole city as well. And so we are starting today, but I've already put the instructions out. Every member of the Detroit Police Department will make that a priority as far as curfew enforcement. We're not doing it for a punitive reason. We're doing it for a preventative measure to save our young folks' lives and keep them from either being the victim or either getting in trouble. Illegal block parties. I say the word illegal. The formation of block parties late at night, violating the city ordinances, loud music, etc. I need the community to call us. That is a priority one, and has already been stated by Mayor Duggan. When it comes to juveniles gathering in public places, I need the community to call, and that has been changed at our communications dispatch center, where that will be a priority one as well. That's the highest priority, and I do have the resources to send our officers out to address those issues. Increase in drifting and drag racing hours. That right there is key. With every plan or every strategy, you have to tweak and you have to adjust. And so for our young folks and for the people that like engaging in the donuts and the takeover of intersections, they study us just like we study them. I have a real-time crime center. I have the best analysts out and available, and so we know exactly what we're doing. But that event, the takeover on 7 Mile and Myers, occurred when our mobile field force had got off. But so we're going to adjust our hours of operation, and I'm letting them know, and I'm letting you all know as well, that they will now go to 5 a.m. or longer. The mayor has authorized the overtime, and our officers are ready to go. And the mayor already spoke to the ordinance change that he'll be requesting as well of our city council members. And so I want to thank City Council President, I want to thank Council Member Young and all of City Council, whom I've made personal phone calls to this morning, asking them for their support. And they have given me their support as to what we need to do as far as getting the word out and also holding not responsible parents accountable. And so it's not about penalizing the kids. They're minors. If you notice, when we talk about curfew and the increase, I'm pushing for the increase when it comes to the parental responsibility aspect of the curfew violation. So that is our plan. My officers are ready to go. I have my executive team standing behind me. I have community that is with me. We have our community violence interrupters, and I will speak to that, which has been successful. And I would say our CVI program is the best in the nation. We have been able to show, by putting them in some of the most violent areas within the city of Detroit, is 6 zones, and those 12 square mile zones, looking back over 5 years, were the highest when it came to shootings, non-fatal shootings, and homicides. They have done remarkable work by reducing it collectively over 40% in their zones. We want to do more of that. Things that work, we double down and add more to it. So that's the reason I'm urging the Michigan Senate to adopt the Public Safety Trust Fund so that Detroit can double the targeted zones from 12 square miles to 24 square miles. And the Public Safety Trust Fund does something additional as well. The House version does, where it creates a trust fund that will have sustainable funds year after year after year, so that our community violence intervention specialists, our credible messengers, can actually put programming in place and can do things and ensure that we fund the programs that work. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Randy Wembley from Channel 7. Quick question. What would you say to people who would be concerned that the enhanced enforcement of the curfew could lead to heavy-handed policing practices, things along the lines of stop and frisk? What would you say to folks who may have those concerns?
I would tell them that our officers are very experienced and that that's not the intent, nor will that occur. The intent is to ensure that from a preventative standpoint, that very youthful minors and individuals are off the street and that we're holding parents accountable. And it's going to be a response also where the community is calling. We are writing curfew tickets for minors right now as young as 12, 13, 9, out at 3, 4 in the morning. Many of them are even on our buses. And so I have my TEOs, my traffic equipment operators, that's their technical name, that will be giving us information as well. And so we're a constitutional policing department. We have the best practices when it comes to constitutional policing. And I have no doubt that the men and women of the city of Detroit will continue to do the excellent job that they do. The only thing that's changing is based off this uptick in teen violence, we're putting things in place to ensure that we reduce the amount of young people that are hurt in this city and drive violence down.
And just for clarification, this curfew enforcement, that is just going to last throughout the summer? In the mobile field force deployment up to 5 a.m. is that?
At the end of summer, I'll reevaluate the need, but it may last longer. I'm going to follow the data.
Thank you.
Hey Chief, this is Andrea from the Detroit Free Press. So when you said that over the weekend 6 juveniles were shot, do you have the ages and the status of their conditions?
Yeah, I can get those for you.
Okay, and then that was from
Martine.
Friday to Sunday, clarification?
That was Thursday. We actually started early, so
Okay.
it was Thursday to Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, everyone, good afternoon. Brandon Hudson, Fox 2. Look, I saw the code enforcement or curfew enforcement vans outside. Explain the purpose of those vans as people may see them in the neighborhood.
The purpose of the vans is to be able to transport our young folks and to places where they can be processed at various centers that we identify, and then we'll call their parents, and when their parents arrive to pick them up, that's when they'll be issued a parental responsibility citation. Oftentimes, when we arrive at locations, it's not 1, 2, or 3. It may be as many as 50. And so the vans are to safely transport the young folks that we detain so that they can be processed and their parents can be notified to pick them up.
Look, we got several weeks before we start school again. I know a lot of these kids have become victims of this gun violence. What is it that you want to tell these parents? What is it that you want to tell these community members to make sure and ensure these kids will be safe and can go back to school come September?
I would tell the parents that we need you to step up. We need you to ensure that you know where your kids are. My officers tell me so many stories of parents just dropping their kids off to various locations and leaving. And as we know that unsupervised teenagers get into mischief oftentimes if it's not adult supervision. And as a result, we've seen unfortunate situations where they have been the perpetrators of a shooting or other violence, or the victims. And so this is a preventative strategy, not a punitive strategy, but a strategy to encourage, strongly encourage parents to know where your children are. And this isn't just a Detroit problem. This is a problem that, if you look, it's a national issue. But in the city of Detroit, we're going to address it appropriately, not heavy-handedly, but address it in a way so that we can prevent, based off the data, this uptick that we're seeing in teen violence. In every category of violent crime in the city of Detroit is down. And I'm talking about we're way down. But as soon as we start to see a trend emerge of young people, and that's what we're seeing now, being injured, and then also the perpetrators of violence, then it's time to act. And so the Detroit Police Department and this city, we're moving with a sense of urgency to address this emerging trend.
Chief, thanks for your time.
Hi, Chief. Pamela Osborne, Local 4. My first question, I understand that curfew enforcement is going to be a priority for all officers, but could you talk to a little bit more about the numbers? How many are going to be assigned to this mobile unit, and how many units you actually have out in the community?
I never talk about the specific number of my officers, so that's something I don't talk about, but it's going to be a lot.
And
But I will tell you this. This is now a priority for every member of the Detroit Police Department. So whether they're working the precinct, regular patrol car, whether they're working community relations, this is an extreme priority when it comes to curfew enforcement, because the data is showing that if we enforce curfew, we can save lives, because it would be for young individuals that wouldn't have gunshot wounds over this past weekend if they had been at home and under the supervision of a responsible adult. And that's another thing that you'll continuously hear me say, a responsible adult. And so I'll be working with members of city council and parks and recs and other things, because I do realize that we have to create safe spaces where our young people can gather. But that's another conversation, not today.
And I don't know if you're able to speak to it, but as far as social media goes, is that something that you guys are monitoring? Is that a way that you can head out some of these parties or gatherings that are taking place? Is that part of your strategy at all?
Absolutely. We monitor social media. I got the best real-time crime center in the country. I got some of the best analysts, and so that is a part of what we do.
Thank you.
Hi, Veronica with CBS Detroit. So I'm just kind of curious, because a lot of these violent incidents have involved guns. Where are these guns coming from? Are they being bought illegally? Do the teens have access to their parents' guns? And can anything be done to curb their access to weapons?
Yeah, that's a very complex question, because they don't come from one source. They come from a lot of different sources. And so with the prevalence of guns in this country, there are 3 guns for every person in our country that are out there. So what we're going to do is concentrate on the curfew and hold individuals accountable as to where the guns come from as well. And so we track guns, we track the shell casings, and when we find individual adults that put guns in the hands of our teens, we will hold them accountable as well. I know that Prosecutor Worthy bring charging decisions, and then also we have a phenomenal U.S. attorney by the name of Jerome Gorgon, who is interested, and I have the full support of the ATF, which specializes in straw purchases and tracking where the guns come from. But secure your weapons, and I'll say it again. Parents, know where your teens are. Let's be responsible. And I'm not talking about all parents. I'm just specifically talking about the ones, some of them that drop their teens off downtown and then leave. And others, just know where your teens are. We need you to be responsible. And if you're not responsible, we're going to hold you accountable, as you can see.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you all so much.